At least I'm not competing with the fan now.
No. I think we've been trying to compete with your band.
I can make it squeaky again if you want.
So yeah, I'd like to share a little bit about my experience in Sydney. The walk home, Crave conference, was amazing, and I really am so thankful that I was able to go and found it very inspiring. I got to spend a lot of time with, yes, Tim Carrick. Oh, I can't find it. Oh well. Anyway, there's some pictures of Tim. The beer handle is a very favourite pastime of Tim's.
Big
Did you
one.
take those photos?
Big one.
They're Tim's photos. He's a very warm, caring, fun young man. He's 26. He's really fun to be with. If you haven't heard his story, it really is amazing. And I think we will be looking at getting his book, the Church in the Closet. No, the Cross in the Closet.
And is that a biography?
We'll be looking at getting the book for the church library, I think.
A biography, is it?
I haven't been able to. There were only 5 for sale at conference, and they were his personal copies because Carl had tried to organise with one of the bookshops to get them to purchase them and bring them in. But, had a lot of trouble, everyone said no, and then the one place that finally did say yes ended up taking too long, it was too late. So you can get them on at Amazon, I think. But it's definitely, I think, a book that we will look at getting for our church library. So some of the key points of the story, without going into all the details and spoiling the book in case you do actually read it. Tim came from a very conservative Baptist church background and was very involved in church. He knew it was an abomination to be queer until a close female friend came out and was very upset because her family had rejected her. And he reacted badly. Well, he didn't respond as she was crying on his shoulder. He then felt convicted that he needed to find out for himself how people were treated if you were gay. So although Tim is most definitely straight, believe me, if you saw his reaction to all the females walking around with very skimpy attire, which he was not used to, couldn't believe that he could see females' butt cheeks hanging out, you would have no doubt on that score that he was definitely straight. Tim felt he needed to experience for himself what it was like to be gay and the people's responses. So he came out as a gay man, and there were only 2 or 3 people aware that he shared that he was actually doing this experiment for 1 year. Wow. He wanted to see what reaction he would get from his church, his family, and the general public. The book tells you all about his experiences and how hard it was for him, how depressed he got, but also how he did a complete turnaround and came to love the gay people he met and spent time with. Mind you, he then became very angry and anti towards the church establishment, which he came to realise was really just moving his hatred from one group to another group. And so in time, he came to a point where he was able to let go of the anger and the negativity and see that he needed to treat all people in love, and that God loved everyone, even these people that he was struggling to accept their behaviours and reactions. So it's one of the messages that came throughout the conference of being accepting of all people, all sides, responding in love, not in the same way others are responding in anger or hatred, as it just puts us in the same category as them, which you should all be familiar with by now, as that is what we've been looking at for the last month or so. As others had shared on different aspects of the theme, the walk home, Tim looked at the aspect of the other and our need for other people. So Carl looked at the aspect of turning towards God. Turning towards God. Jared was looking at heaven here on earth, the people that we deal with, heaven in them, and Roland Croucher was looking at the aha moments. So he thought he would look at the other and our need for other people. He did give an example of Adam spending time with God on a daily basis, in the Garden of Eden, and had constant communion with God and had this wonderful relationship with God, yet it wasn't enough. He still felt alone and needed someone else. And I will share later on how we need more than one person to see, share, feel all the different aspects of God. Those others, he said, also included those who don't treat us so well and who make life difficult for us. But they are all situations in which we can learn about loving others and God's love. He said in the mega churches he went to, there is a lack of simplicity. And he said we need to use KISS. Keep it simple, saints, in our churches. He liked the picture of the communion table as a place to share, love, and laugh together. There is a verse in Song of Songs about saying her fragrance being pleasing to him. And so Tim has this question he asks himself: is my fragrance pleasing to God and those around me? That certainly had everyone laughing and sniffing. Now,
The battery died.
his battery died. Maybe that's why the red thing didn't go. We do have another battery. The next person who spoke, or one of the other speakers, I'm not sure who came, was Matt Glover. He's the smaller guy. Tim's the big guy. Tim's really a big guy. Yeah.
He's a big guy.
Yeah.
Looks bigger beside us.
Yes. That really hasn't come up very well, has it? Matt Glover was another very interesting speaker with an amazing story. Matt made news headlines, and not only in Australia, but it was as a Baptist minister. He's a straight guy who was forced to resign for standing up for the rainbow folk and accepting them in his parish. Matt has accepted and supported the queer community in every church that he has been a pastor for many years and not had any trouble. Until a year after he had been sent to this particular parish, his last parish, there were a few people who had a problem with the type of people who started turning up in their church. Matt shared that many of these people from the rainbow community have been badly hurt by the church and find it very difficult to trust churches. And so it took Matt a long time to build up the trust and a reputation as an accepting, affirming minister and a church that they could feel safe in. So I guess, yeah, it took a year before their presence was really felt, I guess. Through a very long, drawn-out process, which I'm not going to really go into here, it came to the point where it became impossible for Matt to stay there. So he had to hand in his resignation and turn his back on the life he loved, the job he believed he would be doing till the day he died. And he lost it all. As he said, pastors don't retire, they just carry on until the day they die. Well, that was what he was expecting. So here's another straight ally who was prepared to sacrifice because he believed the church was wrong in persecuting and rejecting the queer community. Matt, after a very difficult time, changed his direction and is now a counsellor who has clients throughout the rainbow community. In Matt's session, he started off with a reflection using the story of the prodigal son and personalising it, putting ourselves in the story. It was really good, and I would have loved to try it here, but somehow doubt I would do it justice. But I am intending to spend some more time looking at this technique and trying it out here sometime in the future, maybe. It says in 1 Kings 19:11, God is not in the storm or in the wind, etc., in the fire and various other things, but he's in the stillness. We hear the still small voice. Encounter God in the stillness meditation. Be still before God, to encounter God, to listen to God's voice. The comments that stood out for me from Matt as he was sharing his story were, if we are all created in the image of God and all are unique, it takes a wide, diverse range of people who all reflect different aspects of God. Just think about that for a moment. We are all unique, and not one of us can reflect God in God's entirety, but we are all created in God's image. So it's like we are all pieces of the jigsaw puzzle of God. Put us all together in our correct places, and voila, we have God. So the other comment he made was an answer to a very common question. Why did God make some people gay, straight, lesbian, transgender, etc.? And his answer, to teach us more about ourselves and to teach us more about God. Now, I don't know if that's a satisfactory answer for you, but it rather appeals to me. I quite like it. Now, Jared, very interesting guy, really nice guy. Jared McKenna is from Perth, WA.
Yay!
He's another straight ally who shared his life-altering story with us. Jared is an Anabaptist and a humanitarian. His life is an example of what he believes. He certainly not only talks about justice and peace and caring for our world, he lives it every day. Until about halfway through last year, Jared, with his wife and son, lived in a community where they reached out and helped the children out on the streets or in trouble with the law, the homeless. They were loved and accepted by the community, given a place where they could feel safe, accepted, fed, and shown a way out of their hopeless situation. Jared is the founder and director of Empowering Peacemakers in Your Community, EPYC, which is an award-winning youth-empowered initiative equipping a generation of young eco-prophets in an earth-affirming spirituality of radical compassion, non-violence and justice found in Jesus and lived by Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, Bud Shah Khan, Vincent Lingiari, Dorothy Day, and regular revolutionaries of love like you and me. There is a description by Shane Claiborne. I don't know if any of you have heard of him. I know Sue has. He's a very good friend of Jared's as well. Jared likes to follow Shane, I think. And he says, one of the doctors I met in Iraq said, with tears in his eyes, this violence is for people who have lost their imagination. Jared McKenna and the good people of EPYC are prophets of imagination. They are on a mission to create new heroes and sheroes and to reclaim God's dream for this world. It was established in 2004. EPYC has fast become the leading youth non-violence training program in the nation of Australia. Last year alone, EPYC trained over 8,000 young people in the power of non-violent social, ecological and personal transformation. Now, in July last year, Jared started the First Home Project. Have you ever heard of the First Home Project?
Yes.
Okay. It's a real miracle story, it really is. In just 14 days, they created a story of alternative economics and amazing compassion for refugees. By creating this crowdsource, a community mortgage of $600,000. Yep, in just 14 days. So we're going to just watch a clip of the appeal to the community as Teresa, his wife, Jared and Tyson, and their friends, family and supporters transform a former meth lab into a community of welcome.